DETV Sports Update is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into our Wilmington studios here in Delaware for another episode of DETV Sports. Again, the rebrand of the new show coming up here just around the corner, but a action-packed show for you tonight as we begin the MLB All-Star break. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. Matthew Maurer, Nick Allison-Journey, no Jason McCall today. He has got some family business, I believe, to take care of. A lot of stuff going on, so we wish him the best. I'm sure he might tune in at some point here throughout the night to let us know how we're doing. But, of course, we'll expect him back next weekend, and we're going to have a lot to talk with him about next weekend. So we're going to get into some lists today. ESPN coming out with a list of their top 10 quarterbacks surveyed from NFL execs, coaches, and scouts. We're going to talk a little bit about the Summer League and get some of Matthew's first impressions of what he's seen and also just his impression overall in the Summer League in general. We'll talk about Team USA. They played Australia today, able to hold on to a tough, narrow victory this afternoon. And, of course, we're going to round out with our list as well as our top 10 NFL quarterbacks. So a lot to get into. Matthew, another week here in the mid-July. Not too bad in the studio today. You know, I could wear pants today, and I did.
AC on for us today.
It feels good. We must be working our way up the ranks over here.
Must be.
Of course, Dennis back behind the glass with us today as always. We'll hear from him throughout. I want to get his top 10 list. I wonder if he'll be able to give us his here by the end of the show. So we'll hear from Dennis a little bit later. But let's start with something that we don't typically start off with, Matthew, and that's Major League Baseball. The All-Star break getting underway today. Teams wrapping up their final games in action yesterday on Sunday, and the Home Run Derby tonight, and of course the All-Star game tomorrow. So we don't talk a lot about baseball. There's 182 games, etc. To talk about. So now we have a little break in the action, so we can just comment on it a little bit. Let's take a look at the standings here in the NL, in the AL. You'll see them on your screen here in a second. Thanks to Dennis. The Phillies with the best record in baseball. Matthew, I know you're a Phillies fan, as am I. Got the City Connect on today. You know, first of all, let me say, how do you feel about these?
I don't like them.
I would say a lot of public perception is not a lot of people like them.
Yeah,
why is that?
I don't know. I'm an old school. I like the red pinstripes.
I'm with you there. I do like.
Or I like the blue. Oh, it's beautiful. I like the old school. I gotta be honest. That's just me.
I know a lot of people feel the same way. You know, it was a nice little change up. I like new additions, so I'll take it. But, hopefully we keep getting them. Here's a look at the standings here in the National League. The Phillies, 62-34, best record in baseball, and, of course, tops in that National League. The Dodgers sitting behind them at 56-41, followed by how about Milwaukee, 55-42. The Braves dealing with a bunch of injuries this year, still sitting though atop the wild card. The Cardinals and the Mets also up in there. So the NL East looking good so far here at the All-Star break. A few teams there in the playoff mix. But Matthew, the Phillies, the big thing. Obviously, last year making those moves, we already know how you feel about Bryce Harper, but they get Trey Turner, Schwarber, Castellanos here the last few years. A World Series appearance 2 years ago, a tough Game 7 loss in the NLCS last year to the Diamondbacks at home in a game a lot of people thought they should have won. But here they are now with a little bit of a vengeance, you could say. A number one record in baseball here at the break. What are your expectations for the Phillies going forward after they've looked this good so far here in the first half of the year?
I mean, look, World Series, of course. Yeah. I mean, look, Bryce, he's having a tremendous year, first of all. I mean, he's having might be a career year for him, actually. I think Trey Turner has been phenomenal.
Sure, yeah, he's really been good.
Man, he's so good. I'm looking forward to Real Muto being a little bit better. I mean, he's been good, but he's been a little banged up, so I hope in the second half he turns it around. And, of course, look, this might be a bad take here. He's a guy that he'll be in the Home Run Derby.
That's right. We'll talk about him a little bit too.
Bohm. But look, I think I would like to see a little bit more production in him. I think that he'd get a little extra bat. I think the outfit has been really good, especially hitting. And of course, he's not going to get a lot of love, but I think he does really well at DH for us. So, Schwarber. Yeah. So I'm liking everything that I've seen so far from the Phillies. I can't. There's not. I mean, what's there really complain about?
That's right. You're right about that. Right? We would all say we'd take the best record in baseball here to the halfway point. Of course, we'll see how Dave Dombrowski and some of that administration maybe can make a move here at the deadline. I know they've been looking at Mason Miller, the closer from the Oakland A's. Maybe help that bullpen out a little bit here through the rest of the way. Maybe add another outfielder that could help up dealing with some injuries there.
I would like to see another arm.
Yeah, definitely on the bullpen arm. I think it would be nice.
Another arm. I know We've got Tyquan Walker in there. He's okay. And
he's
bad.
Injured now, too.
Yeah, exactly. So I would like to see another arm. I think we get one more arm. I think we got a really good shot. But look, you got Nolo, you got Wheeler. And as long as Wheeler's health stays intact, we're doing good. And, of course, what's that kid's name? The Ranger kid.
Ranger Suarez, yeah. Hopefully he comes, was phenomenal at the beginning of the year. Going through a little idle right here.
Yeah.
And I think when JT comes back, as you mentioned, he'll help out some of those pitchers, calling a lot of those games there behind the plate for JT. Mm-hmm. But they've been good. Another team that I know Jason wanted to talk about, unfortunately not here today, is the Baltimore Orioles. Yep. Third best record in baseball. They now taking the lead over there in the AL East. They've been phenomenal. We'll see Gunnar Henderson in the Home Run Derby tonight, which we'll talk about here in a second. But again, my pick in the beginning of the year was the Phillies-Orioles World Series. That would be my dream matchup. A little hometown bias, but I would love to see those two teams go at it on such a big stage. Of course, Jason always likes to remind us the last time that happened a while back. The Orioles did get the best of the Phillies, but that's what I'd like to see. I think we got a pretty good chance of seeing it. Any team you want to see, maybe the Phillies go at it here in the World Series, maybe revenge against the Yankees from 2009, 2010.
That would probably be it.
Man, I know, that's what I kind of want to. But I think now, and we talked about this maybe off the air, is if they were to lose that series, though, I don't know how I would handle losing to the Yankees. So it might be worse off, but it would be a much better win if they were to beat the Yankees. So, you got to risk it a little bit to get it. So I would take the Yankees either.
But that's what make the victory so much sweeter.
It would make it so much sweeter.
Yeah.
Oh, it would.
We can take one from them Bulls. I'd be happy.
I still got nightmares of Hideki Matsui hitting balls off the fence from like 2009. But the Phillies in a good spot. Orioles, they're also in a good spot. Matthew, let's talk a little bit about the Home Run Derby tonight. Pete Alonso is the favorite at plus 275. He's won twice already. Made it to the finals a third time. Wasn't able to bring it home. If he wins tonight, he'll be the first player ever to win 3 Home Run Derbies. He is the favorite, followed by Gunnar Henderson creeping his way up the ranks. I know we talked about him earlier before we went on the air. He's at second at plus 375, followed by Bobby Witt Jr. at plus 400. Marcell Ozuna at plus 475 from the Atlanta Braves. Adolis Garcia at plus 575 for the Texas Rangers. A home showing for him. The All-Star game going to be in Texas at the home of the Rangers. Teoscar Hernandez from the Dodgers at plus 1,200. Jose Ramirez from the Guardians plus 1,400. And then, as Matthew alluded to earlier, Alec Bohm, the big underdog here at plus 1,700. Not too much of a home run hitter, but obviously a fantastic hitter for the Phillies this year, batting in that cleanup spot. Anybody you like there in the field tonight?
Probably Gunnar, then followed by Hernandez. I like his swing.
Teoscar with those odds too, huh? I mean, that wouldn't be a bad bet. I don't think. It
wouldn't be a bad one.
Plus 1,200 there. But Teoscar's got some power.
Yeah.
Again, I'm with you. I kind of like Gunnar here. He's now creeped his way up to plus 375. That's second in some of these odds. But I've liked Gunnar here for the last week leading up to it. I'm a big Bobby Witt Jr. guy. Again, I'm not sure how well that swing translates to the Home Run Derby, but a phenomenal player, and, of course, the odds reflecting he's third. I wouldn't be surprised about Marcell Ozuna either with the way he's been able to hit for power this year for Atlanta. Give me Gunnar Henderson, though. I'm with you there. And then my second choice would be Marcell Ozuna there from Atlanta. I think maybe he's got a shot. You have any World Series predictions?
Well, it better be us.
Yeah. Phillies, you go. Phillies, Yankees.
Yeah. I mean, look, I would agree with you. I think Orioles got a good shot to be there. So they'll probably
that would be nice. I like to see.
If we battle anybody, it'd probably be them. But if I could have my matchup, it'd be the Yankees, of course.
Yeah, that's for sure. Let's jump now to the NBA Summer League. Again, Home Run Derby tonight at 8 o'clock. All-Star game tomorrow night on Fox. And again, quickly on the uniform. Have you seen the uniforms for the All-Star game this year?
I have not.
Oh, they're horrible. I thought last year's were bad. This year's, they may be even worse. I want to go back.
Really?
I want to go back. You were talking how you were old school earlier before we went on the air. I want to go back and do when everybody wore their own uniforms, right? The away whites.
I like that too.
Wow,
yes.
Man, I don't understand why we don't do that anymore. That was fun. Wear your own jersey for the All-Star game. I thought that was cool. Maybe they can go back and get that done here at some point. These jerseys, I don't know if Dennis can find them as we progress here, but
I think
horrible.
I think wearing your own jersey also helped the casual fan
absolutely
connect.
No doubt.
Yeah, I think they 100%. Should go back to that.
Let's see if we can do it. Rob Manfred, if you're listening, let's go back to that. Let's go back to that. I know Adam Silver's been listening to us a little bit here.
A little bit.
So we'll see if he continues to do so.
Yeah.
Speaking of, though, in the NBA, the Summer League in Vegas, the big one underway. A few other spots getting underway before Vegas, but now everybody is in Vegas for the hot spot here, where all the games are pretty much taking place here through the rest of the NBA Summer League. The top 2 picks, Sarr and Risa Shea, been showing up, playing pretty good basketball here in the Summer League. But before we dive into some of these guys, Matthew, that you know very well and that we have talked about here on the show, we've been through your mock draft, I want to get just your overall idea or how you feel or your thoughts on the Summer League in general. What do you think of it, how it's run? What do you take away from it, if anything? How much do you take away from the Summer League? How much can you take that into the NBA season? We've seen guys that have played very well in the Summer League that haven't transitioned, but we've seen guys that have played well that have transitioned. Just what's kind of your idea on it and what you think of the Summer League as a whole?
I mean, for me, the Summer League, what I'm looking at more than anything is point quality, not necessarily how many turnovers they have, how badly they shoot. It's about how good are the moves that they're getting off against pros, essentially. And they're not even elite pros. These are, and I hate even saying that because these guys are phenomenal players if you're in the Summer League uniform for the most part. But yeah, I'm like Reed Shepherd has impressed me with him getting to his spots.
That's what I was going to say. Is this the way he's able to maneuver himself on the floor? I was going to see, took the words, getting to those spots. He's able to do it. Obviously we know he can shoot, but put it on the floor and get to the basket as well. Yeah,
Stephon Castle, another guy I think has done well. I liked how Sarr played defensively. Risa Shea, he's doing back what I thought he would. He looks polished, but I don't really see a lot of what he's done that I would say are quality points. Same thing with Bronny James. I mean, he hasn't been quality at all out there.
We'll focus on that, I guess. That wasn't on the script tonight, but we have to talk about it. That's an error on my part here. But what do you think about Bronny James' performance? Obviously, I believe 2 games so far in the Summer League. One, was in that Sacramento one, or at the Chase Center. And then obviously now in Vegas for the big one. I know he went, I think, 0 for 8. From 3 or from the field, but he had some steals, etc. I'm not sure of the stat line. We'll see if we can get that. What do you think of his performance?
I mean, his performance is what, unfortunately, I took into when I scouted him. I mean, he has to learn how to play point at this level. He is not what I would call a natural point guard. He doesn't have natural ability at that position. Sure, he's athletic. I'll give the kid a lot of credit. It takes a lot to go out there and to perform under the kind of eyes that he's been under. So he gets total respect from me in that. But at the same time, I worry about this for him long term because you're talking about, like, on social media, I mean, they're dogging this kid, something fierce. So I don't want to pile it on. But I will say this is exactly what I feared for a guy who's the 55th pick. And he's the 55th pick. We wouldn't care any other year, but it's because of the things that his father did prior to him getting drafted, which was he's better than guys in the league, that he could play in the NBA right now. Like, his father was saying these things as he was playing, and it's created, I think, this idea now that that's the standard, that's what he should be, and it's created an unbalance because the truth of the matter is he's a project. No matter how people see it, nepotism and all, he's a project. He's not a player that's polished at all. He's the first 6'1" project I've ever seen in the NBA. And we're talking about modern history, and we can even go back old school. I mean, look, obviously I meant to say Rob Pelinka and J.J. Redick do not run that organization. I don't think Jeannie Buss runs it. I think Clutch Management does. And we're going to find out if it's a good thing or it's a bad thing because right now things don't look that great. But there's some light at the end of the tunnel for the Lakers because I think Dalton Connect has played really well.
Good, 25 in the game yesterday, or I believe 2 days ago. Connect 4 again. We were all kind of surprised at how much he slipped in that draft. I mean, I was like Jared McCain a lot. I think he's looked pretty good so far, but I really wanted the Sixers to take Dalton Connect there at 16. But McCain going to be a good fit. He looked good. Hopefully that's the case. Do you have a comp for Bronny? I mean, obviously it's hard when you have a player, obviously 55th overall, not much expectations as you alluded to, but is there a comp maybe for a player that you've seen? Obviously not a superstar or anything like that, maybe a guy off the bench throughout. I know it's a tough question, but is there anybody that comes to mind? I'm putting you on the spot.
At best, maybe a Gary Payton Jr. You know, the guy that can go in there, maybe have some athletic moments and then go back on the bench. Yeah, I mean, again, look, he's the 55th pick. Somebody asked me, they said, well, what's success for him? And I said, well, success is just making the team.
Yeah, be on the bench, right?
Yeah,
Cheering on daddy.
Yeah, that's success. And I think he'll spend a lot of time in the G League. I think
he should and hope he does. I mean, hopefully we'll get a chance to check him out.
I hope
here
so
in
too.
Delaware.
But I think, look, they're going to use this opportunity to get clicks. They're going to use this opportunity to get that 1 or 2 games where he goes in and LeBron's on the floor and they'll take their pictures and do all that other stuff. But I think what's best for Bronny is to get in the G League, get some reps. And look, I got news for people out there. The G League for guards is no sweet place to be because being in the Blue Coats and covering games in the Blue Coats, I mean, we've seen some electric guards in that league. So he's not getting any rest being in the G League. But I just think he just needs time to really work on his game and get reps. At this point, I don't think sitting on the bench waiting for blowouts is a good opportunity for him in the NBA right now.
Man, I don't know if you saw the clip about J.J. Redick earlier giving a comparison of his own. He said, I see a lot of the same qualities in Bronny that I see in Lou Dort. He said, I think he can be that lockdown defender, best defender on the floor, with a couple years. What do you think about that from your guy, J.J.?
Look,
can you see that?
I can't. But, I mean, look.
JJ's been talking up the young fella here. I mean, as expected.
Well, he works for them. So I
exactly
get,
right.
I get why he does it. I just, look, man, a lot of guys are talking, and a lot of guys are saying a lot of things publicly. But I can tell you this, and I'm not going to put any names on it. But behind closed doors, there's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of, are you kidding me? There's a lot of things being said other than, yeah, he's great, and he's going to be great. Trust me. The guys out in the front that have these podcast shows, they're not going to go out there and bomb on Bronny because they want to bring in clutch guys to interview and all this. They're not going to clip their nose to spite their face. So listen, they're going to play it smart. They're going to try to act like they're in the middle, but they're really leaning towards the side of the clutch. That's what they're going to do. And I don't blame them. From a political standpoint, it makes perfect sense. But I'm not going to take what you say really and say like you know what you're talking about. And
again, we saw one, and again, I go back to the Lonzo Ball thing when he came into the league. I mean, just because of his dad alone and the things that you were saying and all the hype he was getting, I mean, I'd never seen players so ready to go at a rookie. I mean, the double teams, Patrick Beverly. I mean, they were Jamal Murray at the time. I mean, he was, thrown into the fire early. They went after him, and you think we'll see the same thing, with Bronny, if he even happens to get into the game here in the NBA? Because just watching the Summer League like I didn't see any, and maybe it's a LeBron thing. Maybe people respect LeBron so much that they're not, but, I mean, when Lonzo got in there, they were chirping in his ear, physical. I didn't see that out of the Summer League with some of these guys. You think that's like a special treatment type thing for LeBron, or maybe we need some more Dylan Brooks guys out there?
I mean, I just think guys aren't going. I mean, like, what's there to say? I cooked the 55th pick. Like most people aren't going to give you any rep. Like Lonzo was the number 2 pick, so if you got to go out there and do something to him, you could kind of brag a little bit about it. I mean, and Lonzo Ball, from the day we found out who he was as a 5-star recruit, he was looked at as among the nation's best since his junior year of high school. Bronny James, no matter what people try to tell me,
was a top high school recruit though, right? What was I forget the specific number. He was up there.
Oh, Bronny was a sub 100 kid, and then ESPN did what they needed to do to get him some pull, and then they kept moving him up, and then before you know it, he's a 5-star recruit.
Yeah,
but he wasn't a straight out the box, I'm a 5-star guy. He was more like, hey, let me wrap my arms around this guy. Trust me, he's a 5-star guy. Take it from me. That's really what it was. So,
and quickly before we move on from Bronny, just to go back to sign that 4-year contract, $8 million for the 55th overall pick. What do you
guaranteed, by the way.
Guaranteed. So what do you think that says, if anything? And I mean, just if you were to look at the contracts in the past of some of these guys taking 55, it wasn't for $8 million. It wasn't for $8 million. It wasn't
guaranteed.
That's exactly. So, what do you make of the contract?
I mean, he essentially got a first-round contract.
That's what I'm saying. Is that a big deal that they're giving him $8 million? Just or not?
Well, it's not a big deal, but I mean, it's going to be made to look more and more like this is just nepotism at its finest.
And that's what my point. Yeah, that's what it's just like. I didn't understand, like, all right, cool, 4 years, $8 million. Like, if I'm even him, do you want, like, I don't want $8 million. You know, give me whatever, let me earn it. I don't need the $8 million.
Let me just say this, because, you know, look, we got friends of the show and people, I'm not going to call your name, but, and there's one guy in particular. Listen, you guys got to understand what generational wealth is. You can't keep saying generational wealth and saying that's generational wealth because he got drafted into the NBA. His father is a billionaire. He doesn't need generational wealth because he's already got it. He's got it in a trust. Trust me. You ain't got to believe nothing else I say. If LeBron does not have a trust fund set up for Bronny James, then he needs better estate planning. And I got tons of people he can come talk to. Trust me. He'll
be fine.
Look, Bronny's kids are going to be fine, okay? This money that he's getting from the NBA is like, I know, mind-blowing for everybody else and life-changing for everybody else, but $8 million is like spending
It's his allowance
cash
for the week.
Yeah, like this is like not generational money. People got to stop throwing that word around. Like this guy is already generational. He's coming from $1 billion family. Like we got to stop all this, man. Like look, we say it's nepotism, that's fine, but it's not about creating generational wealth. He's already got generational wealth. He doesn't have to create it. It's already there. This money is going to just be money that he just has on top of the money he already has. So, like, again, I know people want to make a win out of this any way they can rather than tell the truth, which was a player that we don't know is fully qualified went in the second round. And normally, no one cares. I get it. But the one thing I will say this, and then I'll wrap up my little stupid rant, is this. Sports are supposed to be a meritocracy. And for people who don't know what that is, I use that big word. It just means that what you do on the court, on the field, is supposed to be more than what your last name is, more than what university you went to, more than what else. If you go into a field and you outplay somebody and you went to Delaware and they went to Duke and you got the best of them and you beat them soundly, it's supposed to, as an evaluator, they're supposed to see that and they're supposed to say, hey, that Delaware kid's pretty good. They're not supposed to say, well, that Delaware kid did pretty good, but we're going to take the kid from Duke because that's at a better college. No, that's not how sports are set up in college. That's not how it's ever been set up. So, you know, look, is he the first? No. Is he one of the new ones, I guess you can say, with a resume of a father that's a billionaire? Yeah, I can't think of anybody else. I mean, Michael Jordan didn't do this for his kids, and that's about the only guy I even know that has deep pockets the way that LeBron does and has earned that much. I mean, maybe a soccer kid that I don't know about.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
From overseas. But
comment if you know somebody.
Yeah, comment if you know somebody from overseas. I don't know anybody, really. I'm being honest. NFL, I don't know anybody that comes from almost $1 billion father and has been pushed into a league. I don't know.
Let me ask this before we close out the conversation on Bronny. How many games does he play in the NBA next year? Just gets into, no matter how many minutes. It can be a few minutes here or there, garbage time. How many games does he get into?
I can see him getting in 20 games this year.
I hope he does.
Yeah.
I think he can get some garbage time. Yeah, me too.
I hope he proves everybody wrong.
But again, we'll see. It's going to be tough for him, though. Uphill battle, of course, as always. But again, Summer League, we'll see if he's in action tonight or tomorrow. The rest of the week, we'll keep it low. And just to stick with the NBA Summer League, obviously Reed Shepherd, a guy we all liked but thought maybe needed an extra year or so, is coming out, and he's been fantastic. You alluded to it earlier, getting to his spots, knocking down shots, kind of running the show there offensively. For Houston, averaging 22.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists go along with a few steals and blocks. So even the defensive part is coming in already. It's just the Summer League. We talked about your takeaways and, what do you expect from the Summer League, and you can't look too much into it.
Right.
Obviously, because we've seen some plenty, and I'm sure you've got many examples of guys that have lit it up and then obviously haven't transitioned over. So we'll see about Reed Shepherd. But coming up, the Hawks, I saw yesterday it came out that somebody had reported that the Hawks had Reed Shepherd as their next best guy. If we didn't take Ricochet, we were going to take Reed Shepherd. I think it's funny how that works out, isn't it? Funny. Coming out now for the Hawks. But quickly, Deron Holmes, I believe an Achilles injury for him. He's going to miss that entire season. I know he was the guy that you liked as well, but not going to have him here for his rookie year.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a bummer. I really hope he gets speedy recovery and I mean, look, there's always next year.
No, right? Ben Simmons missed that whole year, ended up winning Rookie of the Year. Will not tell you what he's doing right now, but he was the Rookie of the Year that year after. He talked about Bizelis. He had 28 points, 4 of 8 from beyond the arc in their last game, 20 of the game high, 28 coming in the second half. I know you liked him as well. And Julian Strawther, another guy here, 32 points in yesterday's game versus the Raptors. Cam Whitmore's been good, obviously the sophomores. And then the Wolves rookies, Terrence Shannon, 22 points per game. He's averaging after falling relatively late, obviously like Dalton Connecta. And Dillingham, 9 points, 6.5 assists in his action. And then Zach Edey, 14 points, 15 rebounds, and 4 blocks, including that game-tying bucket off the missed free throw. That was pretty cool there to end up there. Klingon, 4 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 blocks in his one game of action. We talked about Connect. And then Bud Carrington and Tristan De Silva looking good so far here through the early parts. Is there anybody there that stands out to you or that you're fond of going forward here? Any of those guys? I know you had your list earlier.
Yeah, well, Bud is a guy that I identified, and some people just didn't like him. But I think kind of what he's doing in Summer League was why I liked him. I think he has what I call like pro ability. Like he sees plays, he knows how to read defenders pretty well, and he makes really good adjustments. So he's been doing that in Summer League, and it's been producing some really positive results for them. So it doesn't shock me that he's doing what he's doing. I mean, this is what I saw at Pittsburgh. It's why I liked him as high as I did. Some people didn't like his athletic profile. They didn't think he was explosive enough. But I think when you're dealing with a guy like him, he's kind of like and I'm not saying he has the dribble ability but he's kind of like a Kyrie Irving, where he reads the defender's body language and kind of makes adjustments on his playing to kind of get those guys off their spots. So I really like him going forward. Always have.
Yeah, again, some of these rookies, obviously we talked about the level of the draft class not being maybe as high as some other years, but some of these guys are off to good starts. But again, remember, as Matthew will tell you, it is Summer League, so don't take too much away from it there. But let's stick with basketball now, Matthew, and let's talk about USA basketball. Finished up the second of their showcases today. It was Canada last week in the win 86-72, and then it was Australia this afternoon, a 12 o'clock tip in their showcase against the Aussies. They hold on up big early, then able to weather the storm late, held off a rally. They hold on 98-92 in that game. What do you think about Team USA? Obviously, Kawhi Leonard, let's start there. He was sent home. We kind of came out recently. We weren't sure whose idea it was for him to leave Team USA. I know he was dealing with those injuries over the last couple of years, missing a lot of time this year. As you can see, USA basketball with the highlights here in the win over Canada. Team's looking loaded here early, but again, with just a 98-92 win. We'll focus on the team as a whole here in a second. But Kawhi Leonard sent home by Grant Hill and Team USA. Lawrence Frank and the Clippers came out today saying they're disappointed that he seemed fine. He looked good in practice. He was ready to go. They're not sure why he was sent home. And then not only that, Matthew, but the replacement, Derek White from the Boston Celtics, a champion, had a really good year for Boston this year. But maybe some other guys maybe that you might have thought of that might get the call there. One of those guys being Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics. So if you're going to say, hey, we took 2 guys from the Celtics on Team USA, you would think Tatum and Brown. It's Tatum and Derek White. So White is the replacement for Kawhi Leonard. Before we dive into Team USA as a whole and what they've done in these 2 showcases, what are your thoughts on the replacement of Derek White in terms of him for Kawhi Leonard and the snub for Jaylen Brown and maybe some other guys?
I got conspiracies.
Does it have to do with Nike?
No.
Because that was one that's came out recently as well.
Yeah, I think Nike is a player in all this.
I think they are too, and I'm again big Nike guy, but I think just from what we've heard and things behind the scenes, it seems like they've got a lot of pull here for all these Olympic teams going. Obviously, they sponsor everything for USA.
I also think it's got a lot to do with Duke. Coach K is still consulting.
Yes, he is. Yep.
Grant Hill runs it.
Yeah, and they had him on the broadcast, just able to talk about everything.
And Jason Tatum is a Duke guy. He went to Duke, and he's part of that thing that they call the Brotherhood. I don't know. Anyways, I just look. Being that they picked Derek White lets me know that you saw Jaylen Brown there. Like if you would have picked somebody else, I'd have said maybe they like this other guy. Dude, you looked right at the Celtics.
Look at the roster.
Roster. And you picked Derek White?
Fine player.
And I'm not saying anything bad about Derek White. So, look, trust me, he's a player. But in a world where the most valuable commodity is a wing right now in the NBA.
Wing, yeah, absolutely.
You take and you say, I'm not going to take that guy. So my question is, look, for years we've heard rumblings that there's a disconnect between Tatum and Brown. And look, they're not the first teammates. Some teammates, they win multiple titles and they still don't like each other, or they just aren't fond of each other.
Scottie and Michael.
Yeah, look at Scottie and Michael, exactly. And you had Kobe and Shaq, and you had there's a lot of people who just for whatever reason just didn't connect, and there was always a little bit of tension in the relationship, or I guess you could say partnership. I do think, whether people want to admit this or not, I do think that Duke looked at that, Duke being Grant Hill, and said, yeah, I'm going to take White. And I think Jason Tatum I think they talked to Tatum and asked him probably.
Really?
Oh, I think so.
I mean, that would be, and they asked Tatum, hey, have you talked, well, what, that's all, awkward. Have you talked to Jalen Brown? And he said, no, I haven't talked to him about
because I don't care what anybody says.
I think that was a little weird, right? Wouldn't that be something you feel the need to?
I don't care what anybody says. When he didn't win that MVP, there's a shot of his face when Jaylen Brown gets it over him.
I know Celtics fans that were upset about that.
Yeah.
That desperately wanted Tatum to get it. I'm not sure why, or here.
Yeah.
Who knows why? But yeah, and they thought that he would from the people that I've talked to.
Yeah, but the thing is that I've never understood about fans like that is, you got the title. What else are we doing here?
And the thing is, he's coming off, you could argue, his best year.
Right.
He was a second-team All-NBA player last year.
Yeah.
And then he comes in this year, he's your conference finals MVP, and then your NBA finals MVP.
And I'm not going to take that guy?
It makes absolutely no sense.
So, look, it's a conspiracy. I'm going to put this out here right now. Nobody's told me anything. I'm just following the trail of logic here. And you can't tell me that Grant Hill, who was a Duke guy,
Big Duke guy. He talks about it as much as he can. He loves to bring it up in the conversation. He loves
Duke. He'd probably do whatever he could for Duke. And I think he probably talked to Jason, and I think Jason wanted a break. And look.
So it's like Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas thing going on here.
I'm not going to say it's that deep, but I do think you can't tell me that you took Derek White over Jaylen Brown, and you telling me logically that makes sense.
And again, we talked about this, I think, before we went on the air, but the only other, logic of reasoning there would be, hey, we lost Kawhi. Let's bring in somebody, that would fit the team like Kawhi fit the team.
Right.
They had that structure already laid out. They knew what they wanted. You sub out a versatile wing in Kawhi Leonard, and you bring in a small point guard. And Derek White, like you said, it makes no sense. And you already had the team; they had what they were looking for. They built it the way they wanted to build it, and you had a perfect. I mean, some people call Jaylen Brown a mini Kawhi Leonard, as he was coming. I mean, it's almost scary. The comps there,
yes.
And instead they go to a 6'1", or I'm not sure the height of Derek White here. I apologize. 6'3", point guard. Like I said, a fine player, great role player. And then when you get somebody like that, that gives Grant Hill the opportunity to say that, right? Oh, Derek White's he can fit in anywhere. He's a phenomenal, defensive player, high IQ, coming off a championship team. But, I mean, at the surface, it just makes absolutely zero sense.
No sense. And let me say one last thing, and it's not about Brown or any of this other stuff. It's about Kawhi Leonard. I'm really saying this with love. No disrespect at all. Bro, it's time to retire. It's time to retire. And it's not because I think he's not a good player anymore. He has done as much babysitting as he can for that leg. And honestly, at this point, I'm worried about his quality of life when he gets older.
Yeah, and I mean, coming out now, when you heard Lawrence Frank today and some of those guys, they said it's not the injury. They say he's fine. Everything's as scheduled. Do you believe that? Because I feel like nothing's ever 100% with him, even when they're saying
the problem.
Right?
That's the problem. Like, it's Kawhi Leonard. Like, it's not his 100% is everybody else's 70%.
And he leaves with these injuries. 6 months will go by, you won't hear a word, and you'll just assume maybe he's getting better, maybe he's not. Who knows? We haven't heard an update in 6 months.
Yeah.
And then it comes around where he's supposed to come back, and he's still not feeling right.
No.
We got to push it back a few weeks. I mean, when he's healthy, and we talked about it, when he's in the playoffs, 100%. I don't care who's on his team. I mean, he has a chance to win. That Raptors run was one of the best runs I've seen a player have. I mean, it was just absolutely insane when he's healthy, but he just hasn't been healthy the last couple of years. I think that I think the contract was the main reason Paul George left LA. But also Kawhi Leonard just not being available, that really hurts the team. And the Clippers made their decision. They stuck with, they offered them both similar deals, but they chose Kawhi over Paul George kind of in that scenario. So we'll see how it works out for them going forward. Kawhi, we'll see if he's healthy or not in a couple months, I guess, when the season pops up. When the season pops up, and we'll see if he's ready to go. Jaylen Brown did come out and tweet about Nike, as that was the reason he thought so. That's where his, sniper scope was aimed at.
And there's some people who have said that this might have to do, and again, not my take. This
Speculation.
Is speculation. Does it have to do with him being Muslim? I do not know if that's the case, but that's what was rumored to be.
Oh, man, that would be something else. Huh?
That would be disappointing if that was the case.
And you see, Jaylen Brown, phenomenal in the playoffs. So once
there you
go. Dennis found the clip.
He's about as happy as nobody.
Oh, man. Finals and conference finals MVP, all NBA player last year. Couldn't make Team USA. Man, I'll tell you. It's tough out there for everybody here in Grant Hill, of course. I've been on every broadcast, and he just loves to talk about it, though. Like you said, loves to talk about it. I think he brought up Duke again yesterday. I forget what the reason was today, against Australia on the broadcast. But expectations for Team USA. Obviously this was supposed to be the year. Everybody's gonna. I know you heard the rumblings months ago. We're gonna play, and Steph Curry wants to play, and Embiid's gonna play, LeBron's playing. I kind of expected a little bit more. Again, don't get me wrong. These other countries are now very good. The gap has really shrunken, in the last however many years. But with the team the USA has, an 98-92 win over Australia, where Jock Landale's knocking down big shots, and old Patty Mills is scoring and keeping them in the game there. Just what are your expectations for Team USA? And so far through these first two games, what have you seen from them?
I think the biggest problem with Team USA has been that they just struggle to get chemistry.
Yeah, that has to be it.
Yeah, I think they struggle to get chemistry. I think they struggle to adjust to the FIBA play. It's a little bit more physical than I think they're used to. People don't like to say that, but it is a little bit more physical. And, it always bags me up when people say, people have caught up. When we say caught up, what we're really saying is that players that were getting trained in America are now taking themselves and they're going overseas to play for those countries. That didn't happen in the past. Yeah. I'll say this, there's a lot more players that are coming from foreign countries and playing in America. They didn't have all that back. Like when I was a kid, there was only one or two Germans that played college basketball. Yeah. Now there's much more guys that play college basketball. And that's not including Cameroon, Nigeria, France. Gonzaga always gets a couple French kids.
Yeah, the Canadians obviously each and every year.
Right. Every year there's more and more. So they're getting North American.
Look at the draft this year. It's a perfect example.
Yeah, they're getting more and more training, and they're going back to their native countries, and they're playing for their countries. Before all this happened, that wasn't taking place, and like Rick Fox, for example. Rick Fox was a Canadian. Very few people in America put that together. It's Rick Fox.
I didn't even know Fox was Canadian.
It's just what I'm saying. He was the most famous Canadian player. Basketball has taken off, has become more of a global game, and there's still teams out there that I think can give this dream team, or whatever people want to call it, USA Basketball, a run for their money for sure. But when people are counting on guys like Dylan Brooks to do it, I don't know about all that. You want to talk about Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, that's a different story. But if Dylan Brooks is you're telling me that Dylan Brooks is the world champion, what was that? I think that was World Championships 2 years ago, MVP. That's what you really believe. okay.
I mean,
But
like you said, though, right? It's a different game, a different style. I mean,
Right.
you're seeing guys like Patty Mills and Jock Landale, as I mentioned earlier, who get, average about 5 minutes a game for their,
Right.
respective NBA teams, and they're looking great in their roles in these offenses with
That's a
these
fact.
coaches. I mean, it's just it's a lot different, and hopefully they can adjust here.
and you know what Patty Mills is? He's the greatest pick. 55.
Oh, there you go.
Same
How
one
about
as
that?
Bronny James.
There it is. The draft historian. There you go.
There you
Breaking
go.
it out for you there for number 55 there for. But again, we'll see if they can pick it up.
Right.
Derek White going to add some boost to that Team USA here. And again, Grant Hill alluded to the fact that they've been killed on the boards in the last couple Olympics and all that stuff.
So
So
you
they
get a
figured.
point guard.
So they went and he said, "Oh, we got Embiid. They got Embiid. So maybe Embiid can help him out. Only 5 rebounds today. We'll see if they have been going forward. We'll see who's on the team next year.
Yeah.
Well, Cooper Flagg got that invite for the select team. Apparently, he looked pretty good. But that could have
Flagg
been
is a
another
dog.
Duke bias, though. You want to say it's a Duke bias, and when he's that good, I guess you can't say
He's
it's a
dog.
Duke bias.
I
Yeah.
give Cooper Flagg is a dog, man.
We'll see if Brooklyn can get that number 1.
I'm
pick
scared
next
when
year.
North Carolina has to face them this year. It's going to be nasty work.
We're going to try to get to one of those games for between those two. Closing words, anything else on USA as we go forward here?
Nah, man. I mean, look.
Let's get the gold, right? Let's go get it.
Yeah, let's get the gold, man. And then, you got haters out here and people, I think, that want to see the sky is falling and do
Yeah,
all
you
that
do.
weird stuff. But, look, man, it's our game, and we're going to go out there and we're going to play our game, and hopefully we take home the gold.
Got to stop Patty Mills and Jock Landale. And
That's
those
a
guys going forward. And again, just quickly, no Ben Simmons on Team Australia. He was cut
Shocker.
this year from
Like
his
I told
national
people,
team.
Australia don't like him.
Yeah, they really don't. They
They
gave,
don't
him,
like
they
that
gave
kid.
him the boot. So let's jump now to the NFL. And the talk
Yep.
of the last 2 days, Matthew, is how we're going to close out the final block of our show today. And we all were talking in the group chat last week. We weren't able to have a show, a lot of different things going on.
Yep.
But we were like, hey, let's go over our top quarterbacks. That was kind of what you put in the group. You're like, yo, let's go over our top 10 quarterbacks, for the
Right.
current NFL coming up season, et cetera.
Yep.
And then a week goes by, and what do you know? And ESPN does it for us. They do their own list.
They do their
Pulled
own list.
from scouts, execs, and coaches around the NFL. So we have our list. We're going to go over ESPN's list because that has been the talk and the main headline here through the last couple days.
Yep.
So again, these are surveyed from people around the league at various positions. Again, ones that you would say are trustworthy in the NFL. And it starts off like this. If Dennis has the image for you here for what was polled as the top 10 quarterbacks. This from Get Up this morning here on ESPN. Patrick Mahomes sitting there at number 1. There's no argument from either of us. Both big
Nope.
Pat Mahomes guys, especially you, Matthew.
Yep.
Joe Burrow coming in at number 2, followed by Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Matthew Stafford making his way into the top 5. Justin Herbert at 6, C.J. Stroud 7. How about Aaron Rodgers at number 8?
Yeah, this
Jared
is crazy.
Goff at number 9, and then Dak Prescott at number 10. So that was voted on by execs, coaches, and scouts over 80 in the NFL. Matthew, there.
Yeah.
A few names that look absent, at least from my perspective. But I want to start with your biggest surprise. And again, we'll see if Dennis can put it back up here in a second. But your biggest surprise from the polling around the league of this top 10 list, what stands out to you the most at this list here?
The biggest surprise to me is that Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, and Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford being 5 is a surprise to me. Not that he's being on the 10 list.
So you
would
think
be
he's in your top 10, though?
He's in my top
Okay,
10,
yeah.
yes. Jared Goff, to me, is a little bit of a surprise. Dak would be on my list, but I would have him above some guys. So, like to me, Justin Herbert, I like the talent.
Yeah, me too. But
Love the talent,
right?
but he just hasn't done anything
It's the
yet.
pressure. I mean, and again,
I would put him at 10.
like I'd have, and I love, like you said, you love the talent, the arm.
Love
He's
the
got
talent.
a rocket arm. He's
Yes.
more mobile and elusive than you give him credit for that
Correct.
size. At 6'7", he's got a little speed. He can stand in
Yep.
the pocket. He takes hits. And again, they just haven't had the team
Haven't done
production
anything.
that we're looking for. They 27-0 lead over the Jaguars in the first round of the playoffs 2 years ago. They blow that game. They lose it. The biggest lead blown in playoff history. And again, this isn't on Justin Herbert. Love Justin Herbert as a player.
Yep.
I think he's been in a bad spot with coaches. I think Brandon Staley was just a horrible coach.
That's
They've never
fact.
had an offensive mind for him to work with. I know Kellen Moore just 1 year as the OC last year. He's already gone. Now he's in Philly, obviously, with the Eagles. I love Justin Herbert a lot. Again, the production just hasn't been there on the field, but I don't think it's a lot of his fault. I think it's what he's been surrounded with. Injuries at wide receiver. Mike Williams has been out almost each and every year. Keenan Allen missed tons of time. I think it's not his fault, but just in terms of production, I have him a little bit further down my list. I got him sitting at number 9 on my list, but I think that's going to turn around with Harbaugh and company. We've finally got, I think, a good coach there out in L.A. for Justin Herbert. Anything else to add to you there about ESPN's list? I do want to ask you this specifically before we dive in. Jared Goff and Dak Prescott, 9 and 10 on the ESPN list. Goff ahead of Dak, 9, and Dak 10. Who do you have in that matchup of those two between Jared Goff and Dak Prescott? Dak Prescott, obviously a MVP candidate last year, could do it in the regular season, but no production, as we talked about for Justin Herbert. None in the playoffs for Dak Prescott. I don't think they've been to an NFC title game. Maybe early on, maybe years ago, Dennis would know. But Jared Goff, he's won an NFC championship. He's been to the Super Bowl, went to another NFC championship game last year against the 49ers, was a few plays away from winning that game. Who do you have as the better quarterback here in your list between Jared Goff and Dak Prescott?
Dak Prescott's not even close to me.
Really?
See, I'm not a Jared Goff guy. Jared Goff's not in my top 10. I would have Jordan Love over him. Dak, I have a little bit higher. I just think Dak has when Dak is on, he's ridiculous. The problem is doesn't get on a lot. Just being honest. But I think I don't have him that much higher. I have him 9. I have Herbert 10. I think Jordan Love is going to make an ascension soon. I have him 8.
Yeah, that's I got Jordan Love 8 too. I'm telling you, I'm a big Jordan Love fan. Again, I told you months ago I would take the Packers with those odds to win the Super Bowl at the end of the year last year. I'm still on that bandwagon. I like Jordan Love a lot. I'm glad to hear you have him at number 8 too, because I know that was a name that was absent from ESPN's list.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Maybe they're looking for multiple years of production. I don't know. But again, I'd say you there. I have Dak just ahead of Jared Goff. I think they're almost the same. I do have Dak a little bit ahead. I guess consistency over the last couple of years. Goff's been good too. Like I said, it's tough because Goff has that Super Bowl appearance. He has that conference trophy. He does been to another conference.
He has a Super Bowl appearance with Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley had 1 or 2 good years. And again, the Rams lost that game. Was it 10-3? It was one of the worst games I've ever seen.
And let's not make no mistake. He was essentially traded so that the Rams could get a Super Bowl.
Yeah. And at the time, I was a huge Matt Stafford fan, so I thought when they made the move, I liked Goff. I thought he was a good quarterback. But when you make that move, I think, and it worked out. I mean, Matthew Stafford was just a next-level guy, and I do have him obviously ranked ahead of Jared Goff.
And this
I got Goff at number 12.
And this is what surprises me. When people talk about Brock Purdy having weapons, have they not seen what Detroit has? Bruh, are you kidding me?
Detroit, best offensive line in football.
They have the best offensive line.
I
would argue that they probably have. I don't even think it's that much. I think they have a top 5 wide receiver core.
I mean, at least top 5 wide receiver in the league in Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Right, and Jameson Williams is just now starting to cook.
And I'll tell you what, too, maybe the best tight end in football now is Sam Laporta.
I agree. And then you have the bruiser backs that they had with Montgomery and Gibb. That's what I'm saying.
And again,
he has it all.
Yeah, he does. You're right about that.
That's what I'm saying. But Brock Purdy gets knocked for being uber efficient and look.
That's a good battle there. I asked you those two. So will you take Purdy over Goff?
Of course.
See, that's a good one there. That's a tight question. I would love to get Dennis's perspective on that one. Goff and Purdy. I'm going through my list, and I think I have disrespected Purdy a little bit. Where's Purdy on your list? And here's Dennis's top 10. There we go, Mo. Allen at number 2. I like that, Stroud. Purdy at number 5 for Dennis.
There you go, baby.
I love the Jordan Love at number 6. He heard us have him at number 8. He had to move him up to number 6 in front of us there.
Yeah.
But Brock Purdy at number 5. Where do you have your guy, Brock Purdy?
I don't have him at 5. I didn't think you did. I'm going to be honest. I have him at 7.
7? I have him at 15 or 16. I think I'm disrespecting him now.
I mean, here's the thing. But that's what I'm saying.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Finish.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're a Jared Goff fan, how can you not be a Brock Purdy fan? Because they essentially Brock Purdy has a worse offensive line, too.
He does. And again, it wasn't always that way, right? The 49ers, as you remember a few years ago, they were looked at as one of the best offensive lines.
Correct.
No longer the case.
That's
and
a
he's
fact.
still able to produce for what he's been able to do. Again, finish in the top 3 of MVP voting last year. So let me ask you then, these are the quarterbacks I have ranked ahead of Brock Purdy. Kyler Murray, yes or no?
Are you serious, man?
Yeah, yes or no?
Nah,
You're
man.
telling you put Kyler Murray in the man, the Kyler
Get
Murray.
out of here, man.
Baker Mayfield.
No.
I knew you went. Tua.
Nope.
Trevor Lawrence.
Maybe.
Okay, maybe a Trevor Lawrence. Anthony Richardson. Not enough sample size, though. I think after this season, you might change your. And I do have Purdy ahead of a lot of these guys. Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith, Bryce Young.
The trash.
What about Kirk Cousins? I know you love. You've dubbed Kirk Cousins Captain Mid. What do you think about that? You got Kirk Cousins or Brock Purdy?
Purdy.
Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy?
Dak.
All right, there you go, sir. Aaron Rodgers or Brock Purdy?
I go Rodgers.
All right, so there we go. At least I just wanted to get your take on Brock Purdy there quickly. Now
I'm honest about Purdy. I don't think. I don't think he's no elite. I don't think he's like near Mahomes in them. But like, dude, people who keep telling me Jared Goff is this guy, it's like, dude, what is Jared Goff doing that Brock Purdy hasn't done?
Yeah, that's a good point. There.
I'll wait.
Argue with.
Like, what has he done? Like, I don't understand it. Like, the only thing that Detroit has worse than San Francisco, and it's not even on the side that Purdy plays, is the defense. The San Francisco has a way better defense than the Lions do. That's it. Other than that, I would say if we're going by position, they're very similar structures, except for I think the Lions have a better offensive line. So that's about it. Like I don't.
Yeah, hard to argue. 10 quarterbacks. Yeah. And let's start at numbered one. Yeah, go ahead.
You know who that is?
It's got to be the man, the legend. Patrick
That's right.
Mahomes.
Steady top 5. Go.
And nobody else would have anybody else as their number one quarterback. If they do, just stop talking to them and just move on.
I'm going to go with Josh Allen at 2.
Thank you for that. I respect that, and I'm glad you were able to say it. I respect you being able to say it. Continue.
I'm going to go C.J. Stroud 3.
3 for C. And again, I'm one of the biggest C.J. Stroud guys there is. And this is the dilemma I have now with this, right? Because in terms of talent, I have no problem with you putting him there at 3. It's just like when we're forming these lists, are we thinking of past production? Are we thinking of what have they done? For me, I'm just thinking about, like you said, is maybe looking ahead to this year, right, for 2024. And I don't have a problem with that at all. CJ number 3.
Yeah, CJ 3. I'm going to go with I'm not going to do it. I'll go with Lamar.
Over the guy from Cincy? Is that who you were leaning between? Yeah.
Yes.
So Lamar 4.
Yep.
And Joe Burrow 5.
Correct.
All right, who do you got at 6?
I got Purdy.
Oh, there you go. So Purdy ahead of Jordan Love as well, right?
Yep.
And who's your 7?
Stafford. Mm-hmm. Then I have.
Did you have Love at 8 last time? Mm-hmm.
Love at 8. And then 9 and 10, I have.
Did you have Herbert? I had Herbert at 9 too. I think you have Herbert at 9. That's what
I know. I have Herbert at 10.
Oh, excuse me.
Dak at 9.
Dak at 9. And then just to round out your top 12, you have Rodgers at 11.
Right.
Okay. And then at 12, who do you got? Is it Jared? Did Jared Goff crack your top 12?
No. No.
It's got to be. Listen, you left one name out, and I've been waiting to say it. ESPN left one name out. You left one name out so far.
Who do you think it is? I'm gonna tell you who it is, but who do you think it is?
It's Jalen Hurts.
No, it's Trevor Lawrence.
Oh my God! Come on, we're still waiting for Trevor Lawrence to come around.
I am. I got stock in Trevor Lawrence. I do.
Don't get me wrong. I like the man.
I got stock in Trevor.
He's not Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts left out of the ESPN's list of the top 10.
I would have Hurts 13.
I've got Hurts 7 on my list.
What?
One spot ahead of Jordan Love. Division winner, been to the Super Bowl, close to
division winner.
Yeah.
When? Last year?
Yeah, number 1 seed. Listen, Jalen Hurts has done.
We're going to ignore last year,
He's done nothing but win games since he's got there.
What happened to the games in the last 7 games? What happened to those games?
Bad stretch. Hey, it was a bad stretch coming into this year, right? That's our discussion. Justin Herbert. Who else? Who do you got ahead of him? Who do you have at number 7?
I have. You got me all disheveled here.
And the Rams, they made the playoffs, one and done, just like the Eagles are one and done, and Matthew Stafford.
I think I had Stafford at 7.
Oh, that's
I'm sorry.
right.
Yeah. I don't think Stafford's bad at 7.
No, I'm just saying. I think they both. I mean, to me,
And then I had
Stafford,
Purdy at
Jalen
6.
Hurts. I got Stafford at 6, Hurts at 7. I'll give you my top 12 now here
Yeah,
quickly. Patrick Mahomes, number 1. Josh Allen, number 2.
Okay.
I got Joe Burrow, number 3. I've got Lamar Jackson, number 4. This one was tough for me between him and CJ. I went with Lamar because, 2-time MVP, had the Ravens number 1
I'm not
seed.
mad at this.
Respected at that there, so I get Lamar at 4. CJ Stroud at number 5. So there's my top 5.
Okay.
And then at number 6, Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
At number 7, Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
At number 8, Jordan Love. Number 9, Justin Herbert. And number 10, Aaron Rodgers. So that leaves at number 11, Dak Prescott. Number 12, Jared Goff. And the rest there.
So I want you to be honest with me.
Purdy is not in my top
What do you
12
think
right
is more ridiculous? Me having Jalen Hurts at 13 or you having Purdy 16?
Outside of my top 2. Outside of my top 12.
I think that's more ridiculous.
I got him sitting at 13.
I think that's more ridiculous.
I moved him up
if
to
you
13.
if you ask me.
And
That's
again,
more ridiculous,
Do
bro.
you think it's more ridiculous?
Yes. Your quarterback, for example, they are sitting there scared to let that man cook. They don't want that man to cook. I know they don't want that man to cook. That's why they brought in all that money for Saquon. Ignored that defensive backfield, said we can spend it all on Saquon.
They addressed it in the draft.
Hopefully.
We'll see.
It's Chancey taking a
can't
risk
wait,
on rookies.
though. I'm telling you, I'm getting excited thinking about football season. 2 weeks away from the Hall of Fame.
They're talking about
game
trading
preseason.
Ayuk.
Yeah.
So that lets you know how much faith they have in Purdy, boy.
Well, because you know who they got waiting in the wings.
Please don't tell me your guy, bro.
Ricky Pearsall Jr. One of the best route runners there is in this draft
You really
class.
believe this?
I'm telling you. Listen,
Oh,
just trust me on this one. He's gonna catch a lot of balls for San Francisco.
Pause.
Maybe not this year.
look, man. Here's the thing. I want Ricky to be good.
Yeah,
Of
sure
course.
you do,
He's a
yes.
Niner now. But we needed some defense.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. As
And
long as you didn't have another receiver in mind.
Ricky, to me, was a guy we could have waited on. He wasn't going to fall that far down. We could have picked him up in the second round or maybe trade and move up in the second round and get him. No one else was going to take him in the first. Why we take him in the first?
You never know. Kyle Shanahan's he's done pretty well. He's drafted some good guys.
Yeah, he
Ayuk
took
being one of
Ayuk
those
in the
guys,
third
Debo,
round.
Ayuk.
But he took Ayuk in the third round. I think Samuel went in the third round.
Second or third, yeah.
Yeah. He's never taken a wide out in the first.
So that must tell you he knows something. But again, big Ricky Pearsall guy. But again,
Of course, he's from Florida.
Well, I don't feel that way about everybody, but I do like Ricky
You probably was
Pearsall.
a Jabbar Gaffney guy.
Hey, Jabbar Gaffney
gonna
have
be
a bad
elite.
career, man.
He's gonna be
I will
elite.
tell you this. I have had one, and I'm honest. I've had one really bad one. I'll tell you somebody I really liked coming out. I didn't have him in the top 20, but I'll tell you who I really like. Can you guess who came out of Florida that has not lived up to that hype? 2 years ago,
Don't know.
Kadarius Toney.
Oh, well, you weren't alone on that.
So I want to tell you this. I can be honest. I make mistakes sometimes. I'm sure Matthew's made some mistakes in the
I
NBA
thought
draft.
Kadarius was going to be good, too.
Yeah,
man.
so hey, we all make mistakes sometimes. Kadarius, that one's on me. But I was a big ETN that year, and ETN's been pretty good so far.
This is true.
Closing words here for our quarterback battle and quarterback rankings.
Are you guys happy you don't have to play us this year?
Makes the battle in the playoffs that much better. Yeah.
So you're expecting the playoffs.
Yes.
So what are you guys going to do when you don't make the playoffs?
Oh, that's not happening. That's easy. Playoffs is easy. It's what's what we can do once we get there, and we're going to find out early. We're going to get coordinator switch.
How many games
defense
will
have
it
to come in.
take till Nick is fired? Which he should have been fired already.
And to be clear, viewers, not me, Nick Sirianni.
Nick Sirianni. Yeah, sorry. Nick Sirianni. How many games?
I'll tell you what, and like we talked about last year,
Because you do know that Wichcott's in waiting.
Oh, Kellen Moore. You think Kellen Moore is
I
going to be
think
head
he's in
coach?
waiting, yes.
I'll tell you what, he's going to start off on the hot seat, like we talked about. I told you they would keep him after last year, but I
Should've
also
fired
said
him.
that if they would have went the other way, it would have been crazy to think. But I think they should have kept him. I said it wouldn't have.
Oh, yeah.
I said, but I would still hold on to him just to see. But like you said, short leash. I said short leash coming into this year.
Yep.
If they start, 1-3, 1-4, wouldn't be surprised at all if they made a switch. But I just don't see that happening. I think it's going to be a good start this year, and I think it's going to be a lot different from what we saw towards the end of last year, because I'm sure, as you and I both know, that was one of the biggest disasters and downfalls I've seen out of any team in NFL regular season history.
We did that. You welcome, Philly. We did that to you.
Looking back.
We did, though.
I mean, you can't say it. We can't for sure say it was, but you can't for sure say it wasn't that. That's for sure.
You guys were flying. Eagles fly. You guys are flying all over the place. And then you ran into that 49ers,
we
boy.
both have had.
Is that not true?
Yeah, it was coming to that game. You're right. That was a bloodbath early and often.
That's right.
But again, last couple of years in terms of totality in the playoffs, we each have a couple Super Bowl losses to our names.
That's a fact.
All thanks to the same guy.
That's a fact.
Patrick Mahomes.
That's a fact.
It's been a tough 3 years. He's run over us 3 out of the last 4 years at this team.
I mean, look. He walked us down last year, so there's nothing we could do, man.
Yeah, there's nothing anybody could do.
He was elite,
when
man.
He's playing. And not only that, and we talked about how he did it last year with no receivers, and then now he's got Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, who we talked about on the draft show. Man, they're gonna be. I think they're gonna be really good again. And I think they're gonna put the ball in the air a lot this year, even more so than they did the last couple of years, obviously with Andy Reid. So I think they're gonna throw the ball. I think it's gonna be another Patrick Mahomes potential MVP year this year.
Yeah.
Quickly, though, before we close out the show, did you happen to see the Copa America final in Miami between Argentina and Colombia?
I did.
So, Dennis, we have that clip. This is before the game. They couldn't keep they were hopping in the vents. They said they said thousands of people got in free, no ticket, no problem for this event. They stormed, they broke the gates open an hour early. The security couldn't stop anyone from coming through. I mean, it was just an insane scene there in Miami, and now the U.S., of course, talking, it's official. Look at them hopping over the roofs. I mean, they just couldn't stop. If you didn't have a ticket, it just didn't matter. The World Cup is coming to the U.S. in 2026, Matthew. Is this going to be an issue for all these events? They can't even keep a Copa America security going on here.
Look, man, first of all, respect to these fans, man. they were out there, bro.
They're in the vents. They broke open the ventilation system.
That's some James Bond stuff right there, man. I give them all due respect. They was about that action, man.
I'll tell you, maybe get a video of them. They broke through the gates.
I mean, this is passion right here. I don't know, look.
Thousands and thousands of fans getting in for free.
For free.
Right? I mean, at this point, we just don't have to go to the games anymore. We just got to find the vents. Once you get into the vents,
you're home free.
So we'll see if the USA can clean it up here for the World Cup in a couple years, because I have a feeling it's going to be similar to what we just saw there. And guess where the World Cup final is? MetLife Stadium, right down the road.
And guess how many Americans are going to be sitting there like...
It's going to be interesting 2 years from now. Just as we wrap up, I do want to say, and I know Jason would give a nice speech if he were here, Jacoby Jones, RIP, from the Baltimore Ravens. Very sad news over the weekend. Obviously known for Super Bowl kick return, touchdown. A phenomenal player for the Ravens and a big part of that Super Bowl win. So RIP, of course, Jacoby Jones. Jordan Addison arrested over the weekend, a suspicion of DUI at the airport. Some weird stuff going on there with him. We'll see how that plays out. And then Little League getting underway this week, Matthew. Delaware Little League action is going to start tomorrow through this week, and then we'll have a champion next week, and then we'll see if we can maybe get a team into the Little League World Series. Newark National made it a couple years ago. We'll see if Delaware can represent the Mid-Atlantic here again in a couple weeks. Any closing words for you?
We need to get a Danny Almonte. We'll get in then. He'll be 16, but it doesn't matter.
That's what we need to do. I am 12. We write it on the piece of paper.
That's exactly. You get in there and you're good.
All right, let's wrap it up, Matthew. We got your camera on. Your final words for Monday, July 15th.
Oh, man, let me think here. So much has been going on. So, look, there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on in the world, and we always try to use sports as an escape of it, and I'm not going to try to, make the situation light or even give guys a preach a speech about it. But I will say this. Just try to be a better person out here. I know it's tough. We have this political turmoil. The temperature in this country right now is just ridiculous, and people are doing whatever they want to do and not worrying about the consequences. And I'm just saying this to everybody. Just breathe and think things through before you do them. You might not want to, But we really at this point need to remember one thing, and one important thing of it all. You can be a Democrat and you can be a Republican, but we are all Americans, and therefore we should all be wanting to win at the end of the day. So that's my final words.
Man, I'm not going to be able to follow that one up. There you go. Matthew, some closing words for the show. Couldn't have said it better myself. Completely agree. And for that, that'll do it for Matthew, Dennis, and myself. A shout out to Jason. He will be back again next week, and we'll get his list of top 10 NFL quarterbacks. We'll see you next Monday.